the olden trolley. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to all the legislators, Tsawwassen members, staff, and guests. I am happy to be back in the squeakle seat and would really like to raise my hand and thank our acting squeakle, Kuya, Andrea Jacobs, for sitting in this chair and doing all the heavy lifting to get you through that very large part of the agenda. It was fantastic work. My hands are raised to you in deep respect. You have such a wonderful presence in this chair, OCM. I'd also like to thank our young one, Connie Adams, for the table blessing. She always has such a strong and powerful voice with a passion. You can feel everything coming out of her when she sings, and she takes her role to do that blessing very, very seriously. Thank you to Spiloctowit for drumming us in. We're very grateful for you to share that gift and to give us the honor of drumming us in, to keep us together and give us that one heartbeat so that we can work together as one Natsamat. And thank you to Yum's Catering for providing a fantastic meal. I think that's got to be the best fish chowder I have ever had. I really warmed my colics, or mollusks. Our bodies and our souls are nourished, and apparently my sense of humor is also nourished. This evening marks our 7th meeting on March 7th of our spring 2024 legislative session. And as with every session, we have a lot of important matters to discuss, and I'm looking forward to hearing to your input. But before we proceed with tonight's agenda, I would like to invite Elder Quistania to open up our meeting with a prayer. Quistania?
Hello, everyone. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Creator, thank you for this beautiful day, and thank you for this beautiful land that is blessed so much for us by our elders, by the ancestors way, 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 way back when, and today for our legislators. Bless the legislators, our chief and executive, and especially all of the staff that put all of this work together. But again, I pray for chief and executive and all of the legislators and thank them so much for all the beautiful work that they do for each and every member of our nation. And on their behalf, all of our new people, all of our new family members, because they're related to all of us. And we thank you for the housing and for the services that you give to everyone. So we thank you, dear Creator, for the blessing of this nation, for my mother, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, and all of you in here, all of your mothers, grandmothers, and great-grandmothers, as they are the ones that are here with us and watching all the work that you do with loving eyes and a loving heart. So we thank you, Creator, for all that you do for us. And thank you again for the chief and executive and all of the legislators for taking such wonderful care of each and every member on this land, for giving them housing, for helping them heal, and for just doing everything that you can to make sure that everyone is happy on their lands, in which we all are happy. And we couldn't live without this land and the chief and executive, the legislators and the staff for caring so much to do all of the work that the members want you to do. So I have never seen anyone else that does all of this work in a good way that you all do. So thank you, Creator, for doing this and taking care of everyone. We got the flu and the measles and the COVID. With all of that here, please Make sure that they all stay healthy. They look after each other. And while you're doing the work, please, please rest. Dear Creator, make our legislators, chief and executive, and all of our staff rest in between time, especially right now for all of the hard work. So Creator, thank you for this day, and thank you for this honor that I feel every time I do the prayers for our legislator. I thank you in the name of the Father, the Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. All my relations, all my relations, all my relations, all my relations.
OCM, Heichka Kustonia, thank you for starting off us off in a good way. Thank you for your kind and loving heart and for the messages that you always send to us in praying for respect and unity and health and wellness for all of us. We really appreciate it. I would like to send prayers out to Ryder Slade and his family. Ryder can't be here tonight. He's out with his family to be with his grandmother. Let us all send some prayers of healing and wellness and safe travels for Ryder and his family. We miss him. But I would also then like to welcome Liam McCauley, who has come in as an emergency stand-in to fill the role as the feather runner. Liam's been our feather runner when he was much younger, and I'm very pleased and proud to have him as our feather runner tonight, as he happens to be my grandson. As the custom, though, I would like to remind legislatures and staff to wait until they have the feather before speaking and make sure that they pass the feather back to the feather runner when they are finished speaking. Really appreciate that work. And finally, before we get into our agenda, I would like to remind all of our legislatures and our people in the gallery and our staff to put your cell phones on silent in case you receive any incoming calls. We would appreciate that, not to have that phone call interruption. So it's been an interesting session so far. We've had all kinds of twists and turns, from power outages to quorum to legislatures being sick with colds and so on, me just recovering from one, our chief recovering from gallbladder surgery, and we've got all kinds of things happening. So just want to extend another prayer to the Creator and her ancestors just to lay a hand over us and keep us strong as we have this important work that we have to finish. And continue our prayers for all our community members that are feeling sorrow or spiritually, mentally, physically, or are in any kind of physical pain. We really wish them well. For tonight's agenda, we will start with a second report from our Advisory Council on Bill 001-2024. Then we will have the second reading of Schedule 4, the taxation schedule. And then after that, we'll have the second reading for Schedule 6, the member financial benefits. And our final budget schedule for tonight will be the second reading of Schedule 8, member education, training, and culture. We have added another item that we had lightly touched upon at our last meeting, and we will consider a motion to make an amendment to the legislature rules and procedures to address the quorum issues that we experienced last week. I would like to thank staff for clarifying the matter to all of our legislatures and for preparing this important change so that we won't have a disruption in our work for the same reason that we had last week. So thank you very much. Are there any questions about tonight's agenda, legislators? Wonderful. I would also like to acknowledge that Legislature Halkamatia was on us remote here, but, oh, there she is. All right, she's connecting again. So Legislature Halkamatia is present here, and I will be contacting her for her vocal approval or dissent when it's needed, and checking to make sure that she's got her hand up if she has any questions. Welcome, Halkamatia. Your feather has been placed into the mantle. So let's get on with the agenda. The agenda for the second report, the agenda item for the second report of the Advisory Council on Bill 001-2024, I would like to invite Director of Finance and Corporate Services, Mark DeMello, your favorite finance person, to present his report. Seeing as he hasn't done much presenting this session, we thought we'd give him the floor. Mark?
Aichka Squeakle CM, and since I am the only finance presenter, I hope I am your favorite. The item for consideration for legislators today is the second report from the Advisory Council on the Appropriations Act. So one of the critical functions of Advisory Council is to meet and provide advice to the legislature before a law is finalized. This is set out in Section 5.25 of the Constitution and Section 38 of the Government Organization Act. On Monday, March the 4th, from 5:30 to 7:30, the Advisory Council met to discuss Bill 001-2024. There were 8 members in attendance, including 6 elected members of Advisory Council. Quorum was therefore constituted and a formal meeting was held. Staff gave a summarized version of the presentation on the Appropriations Act, and we covered Schedules 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 13. Advisory Council submits the following for your consideration, Legislature. Schedule 7, Member Government Services. A member asked what work is being funded as part of the Schwetzenham framework. Staff replied that it could be any number of things, specific projects, remediation programs, or hiring more biologists or monitors. We will be reviewing the needs and priorities once the Director of Treaty Rights and Titles is hired, and our two department managers in Treaty Rights and Titles and Environmental Sustainability will work together with the Director to identify these priorities. Some members commented on the importance of having TFN involved in the Lower Fraser Partnership, as it's important that what happens in one area of the Fraser, whether it's the upper or lower, affects the other. And so they are very grateful for the work that we're doing on the Lower Fraser. For Schedule 8, the Member Education, Training and Culture, there was a comment that there were concerns over members not being hired into positions with TFN government, even if they had the educational qualifications. Staff responded that generally speaking, members who have the education for a posted position are given opportunity to take that position and gain work experience while on the job. TFN puts a high priority on working with members to provide opportunities to learn while working and to support members who are employed to continue their educational journey. A member asked what the time frame is for hiring new positions that are proposed in the budget. Staff responded that for some positions, preparations are underway so that the jobs can be posted as soon as the budget's approved. For other positions, mainly for the more senior roles like the directors, it may take some time to determine the right criteria and qualifications to find the right candidates. A member asked what opportunities TFN expects to be available for continued learning of Hunkaminam after preschool. They commented that they were really pleased that children were learning Hunkaminam at the daycare, but were concerned that once they got into the school system, there were fewer opportunities and it's possible that the language would be lost. Staff responded that TFN would like to support Hunkaminam learning all the way through elementary school and beyond. Ideally, we'd like to see a curriculum incorporated into the public school system, but we'll start with whatever we can do here at TFN. We definitely recognize the importance of carrying on with language learning after preschool. For Schedule 9, Health and Social Development, a member commented that they're happy to see increased funding for mental health supports and that members will not be limited in the number of counseling sessions they're able to access so that they can continue to get counseling as long as they need it. A member asked about the goal of the support home program and whether the youth support home is intended as a post-treatment facility. Staff responded that generally the goal is to provide a safe space for children to stay in the community if needed as an alternative to going into the foster care system. The reason for the separation between the children's home and the youth home is that sometimes older youth may have more complex needs and issues, including substance use, which can lead to concerns about them being in the same home as younger children. So the youth support home is not meant to be post-treatment. It's really a combination of a support home and a respite home so that youth are able to live on lands when they can't be in their family home. For Schedule 11, Natural Resources, a member asked about the timeline for removing the fish freezers from the rec center. Staff responded that there are funds in the capital budget to build a storage facility at the TFN community farm, and that it's once that's available, the freezers in the rec center can be moved or disposed of as appropriate. For Schedule 13, Economic Development, a member asked if there was any budget to expand the Economic Development Department further. Staff responded that we just hired one position in the last year and that another analyst position is still currently vacant and we're hoping to fill in the coming fiscal year. The department is also continuing to use consultants to support work in several areas. In many cases, the work requires highly specialized knowledge, and it makes more sense right now to use consultants to address that highly specialized knowledge rather than hiring more staff. We're also pretty fortunate that within our legal department, we have staff that have background in commercial law and commercial real estate law, and so they're able to provide additional backup to economic development. And finally, a member commented that they would like to see more youth get involved in the in TFN's economic development opportunities and in the work of that department. And certainly that is something that would be greatly supported by all staff. And just to plug, we'd be incredibly delighted to have somebody in finance. Should there be any young TFN members that'd like to do that? Hajka Squigglesea.
Hajka, Mark, appreciate your report. Thank you for presenting that. Legislators, do you have any comments or questions for the Advisory Council report that just was presented? Legislator Tehuilam.
Hajka Squiggle, Hajka for the feather. Just some comments. I just want to say I'd agree we need more members hired at TFN, and it would be great to take another look at how to provide greater support to get our members into the career paths they envisioned getting hired into and into their desired fields. So that'd be something to, it'd be nice to look into that and see where we can provide those greater supports. Also, I'd agree with the comments around the language. It'd be nice to see about hiring some of our language students, teachers, if possible. I'm not too sure if that's something the community desires, but if there's enough interest to start learning and attend weekly classes, that's something that I could definitely support. We truly miss the work of that Walapia did for our nation, and we're grateful for all her contributions and inspiration. And but yeah, I'd like to see some sort of form of maybe hiring a speaker to come and help maybe with some of those classes. I think I forget the fellow's name off the top of my head, but Mr. Guerin there out in Musqueam might be somebody that we could reach out to. But other than that, thank you, Heitke.
Heitke Tuchuilam for your comments. I'm not sure if there's any questions in there other than comments, and maybe when Crystal does her presentation, she can elaborate on some of the educational language programs that are coming up. Legislators, any other questions or comments? Legislator Spalaktowit.
Hi, Squeakquel. Thank you, Feather Runner. I just have a question about the elected members when they have a quorum, but if they don't have a quorum, would they have to cancel their meeting, or would another member step in for a temporary for that evening?
Heitke, for your question, Spalaktowit, I believe that I can answer that question is that when they don't have a quorum, they can appoint someone from within who's ever attending in that meeting to sit in and be a quorum for the advisory council, which is you're asking for, right? Yes, that is correct. Legislator Sultana.
Heitke Squeakquel, Heitke Feather Runner, and Mark, and the advisory council. I just want to make a comment that, you know, like all the things that are being discussed, it gives us a thought, you know, that we could, you know, sometimes we just don't think about it ourselves. But I realize you'll be asking questions when it's presented. But I just wanted to say Heitke to the advisory.
Heitke, Legislator. Any other comments on this report or questions? Legislator Lukolia. Liam, I guess you're learning now the ancestral names and following where the arms are, eh? We'll do a test later.
Heitke, Liam, and Squeakquel and Mark. A comment to the TFN members not being hired into positions within Tsawwassen government. I'm thinking about how we encourage and uplift our youth and, you know, try out different job positions like summer student jobs and see what you like, see what you don't like. And we have folks that work for TFN government who go and take different educational opportunities, and maybe there's different avenues that they want to pursue that's not currently what they're in. And I think we should also encourage that and uplift those folks that want to do those things. So thank you. Pass it over.
Heitke, and those were just some comments, Lukolia. Legislator Marianne.
Heitke Squeakquel Sam and Heitke Liam for the feather, and thank you, Mark, for the report or presenting it. And thank you, Advisory Council, for this report. It's nice to see the view of members while we do this work. I just have a question regarding Schedule 9, Health and Social Development, about the support home. What are the hours for the staff that work there? And I'm sure it's being monitored throughout, but I just was wondering about the hours. Heitke.
Heitke, Legislator. Crystal, would you like to answer that call?
Heitke Squeakquel. Both support homes are 24 hours staffed by contractors.
Heitke, thank you. Legislator Taylor.
Heitke Liam and Heitke Squeakquel and Heitke Mark for the presentation. I just wanted to make a comment on the language need that's mentioned in the report. I and Executive Council, I know, strongly support having more education programs in the community. And I just wanted to share that one of the trips this past year that I went to Ottawa for was for the purpose of advocating for language funding in our community. So unfortunately last year, Tsawwassen, along with other self-governing nations across Canada, we were actively asking for quite a bit of funding from Canada, but unfortunately it wasn't included in the last fiscal budget. So the hope doesn't end there though, and I hope that we can continue to fight to get certain funding for these programs, because That can mean in the future that Tsawwassen can have our own curriculum. It doesn't need to be the same as other self-governing nations because every nation has different needs. And I think we're in a detrimental situation too with the lack of knowledge keepers in our community with so little. So I think it's really important that moving forward we continue to fight for this funding. So Heitchka, I just wanted to share that.
Heitchka, thank you for sharing. Thank you for the Advisory Council report. Language is still clearly a really great initiative, and I'm still very proud of our language champions. And I think that it's something that we as leaders and we as community members are going to have to step up and start trying to use the language more for it to be a true revival. It cannot land on the shoulders alone of single individuals, while we are completely inspired and grateful by Walapia and the teachings that she's given to us. And our language champions have started that momentum. We need to build on that momentum, and I think funding in that will help, as well as all of our efforts to work towards that. I think that now we will move on to our second item of the agenda. Thank you, Mark, and thank you, Advisory Council, for that report and giving us a lot of things to think about. As Legislator Sultanat said, well, we are contemplating each of our schedules. We could reflect on that report and consider some of their comments when we're making our decisions. As I move to Schedule 4, the taxation schedule of Bill 001-2024, I don't think there are any legislatures that need to declare their conflict or recuse themselves for this schedule. If so, you may raise your hand now, but if memory serves me correct, there's nobody for this schedule. As a reminder, the second reading is the time for debating the substance and the merit of this schedule. It is a time to ask questions that you might have and share your thoughts on the schedule. I would like to call back to the podium Mark DeMello, Director of Finance and Corporate Services, to present this schedule, Schedule 4. Heitchka, Mark.
Heitchka Squeakle CM, Heitchka Liam for the feather. Legislators, the taxation schedule is a very brief one. There are really two sections: local government taxation, which provides for tax levies that are collected on behalf of other government agencies, namely Metro Vancouver, BC Assessment, and TransLink. Those are collected through the property tax system from our leasehold residents, and whatever we collect, we remit to the agencies that we collect on behalf of. We haven't made any increase in the budget this year, because at this point we don't know what the exact requirements are going to be. Those levies will be provided to us likely in May, but there is no downside because whatever we have to pay, we collect, and so it's pretty much a flow-through budget. The second component of this schedule is the member government taxation, and this is really the cost of the homeowner grant equivalent that is claimed by residents on TFN lands. So as our assessment base grows and we have more and more units and people living in the units on lands, we provide a larger homeowner grant. And so this grant is up $150,000 from last year. But the offsetting portion of this is the fact that we get to keep the school tax equivalency, and that is roughly $6 million in revenues that are used to fund TFN member programs. So Squeakle CM, that is it for this schedule. Again, it's relatively straightforward. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that extremely long presentation, Mark. And really, thank you for all of the work that you put in and your team put into this. It's pretty much the same presentation every year, the same idea. We don't know exactly what it's going to be, but we put in our best guess, and reality hits us a little bit later, and you're not that far off the mark, and so that's good to hear. It's also fun to know that this year we'll be progressing to online payment. That should ease the workload of our staff as well, and moving our systems into more of a modern way of processing things. Are there any questions or comments from the legislators on this particular schedule? Legislator Sultanat.
Hitchka, Squeakle, Feather Runner, and Mark. Just clarification on the increase in the budget because we overspent and, you know, like you expect more expenses. Why? Did I miss that? Did I fall asleep? No, sorry, kidding. Thank you.
Hitchka, Legislator Sultanat. Mark.
Hitchka, Squeakle CM. So the homeowner grant numbers, again, tend to be estimates because we don't know exactly how many units we end up taxing for until a little bit later in the whole budgeting process. So we, in the last few years, have been a little bit light on our estimates. So we've bumped the budget up this year. Squeakle CM, hopefully we're not light again. Otherwise, you'll get exactly the same presentation word for word next year.
Hitchka. Any other questions or comments regarding this schedule, legislators? It's a fairly straightforward schedule, so why don't we move on? Thank you for the questions that have been put on the table so far. I'd like to ask Legislator Marianne Adams to read the motion to move Schedule 4 to third reading, and then I will ask for a mover or a seconder, and then we'll vote.
Hitchka, Squeakle, Sam, and Hitchka, Liam. Motion to move Schedule 4, the taxation schedule of Bill 001-2024 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature and under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings, and whereas the Legislature resolved on February 15th, 2024, that each schedule of Bill 001-2024 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 4, the taxation schedule, to third reading.
Thank you so much, Legislator Marianne. Do I have a mover? Legislator Tehuilam. Do I have a seconder? Legislator Taylor. Blah, blah. Whew, my first vote. I will, in a moment, I'll ask for you whether to raise your hands if you're in favor, raise your hands if you're not in favor, and then I'll ask for a verbal assent or dissent from Legislator Louise. Legislators in favor of moving this schedule to the third reading, please raise your hands high. Thank you. It looks like the entire table has raised their hands in favor. Legislator Louise?
I'm in favor.
Hitchka. This motion has been unanimously passed and carried. Thank you very much for the good work, legislators. I would now like to move to Schedule 6, Member Financial Benefit Schedule of Bill 001-2024. Are there any legislators that need to recuse themselves due to a conflict for Schedule 6? None. I now would like to call upon Mark DeMello once again to present on Schedule 6. Mark?
Hitchka, Squeakle CM. Thank you, Liam, for the feather. The member financial benefits section of Schedule 6 of the budget has 2 components, member distributions and member financial benefits. As you can tell, the vast majority of the budget is for proposed distributions. So the budget this year is up 15–16%. but the member distribution budget is up considerably, and the member financial benefits budget is down, and we'll cover that off in a sec. So member distributions, this budget is for our quarterly distributions, as well as the once-a-year payment from the Legacy Trust. Our regular quarterly distributions have been maintained at $1,000. However, within the budget is an increase proposed for the December distribution of an extra $500. So it would be $1,000 3 times a year and $1,500 for the December distribution. The other increase in the budget was in the Legacy Trust distribution. I was anticipating a significant increase in that distribution because a lot more money was put into the Legacy Trust last year. However, that hasn't been as successful in generating the revenue that we thought we would get. We are in the midst of our audit now, but preliminary estimates of our Legacy Trust are that our distribution is going to be up 10 or 15% from last year. I was kind of hoping for 60, and unfortunately, 15 isn't as good as 60. 15 is better than 0, but it isn't quite what we anticipated. I guess it's a good lesson that while the markets, do move around a bit, and we hope for really good results, we don't always get what we hope for. So it's something we'll work on, and legislators who are all members of the TFN Trust Society will get to hear firsthand from our investment advisors as to what happened and why that happened. Suffice it to say that while the budget is 60% higher, I don't think we're going to get anywhere close to that in spending. The second component is the member financial benefits section. This covers benefits such as the member home insurance benefit, the elders cultural benefit, the TFN child benefit, and so on. The budget is $700,000 less than it was last year, but legislators will recall that last year we instituted a number of new elder benefit programs. For example, beginning elder benefit payments at age 55 instead of 60. And because of that, last year we had a bunch of catch-up payments. This year we're just into the regular routine levels. We expect 5 TFN members to turn 55 and officially become elders, and 3 who will be turning 60. So the budget now reflects that. And then in addition, we, for members over 65, we pay a monthly payment of $500. We have, I'm happy to say, 47 TFN elders who partake of that program. So the changes that were made last year, I think, A, have been very well received, but B, I think the monthly payment in particular is one that I think is really useful to our TFN elders. Everything else we're maintaining at our current levels. The other program that I haven't mentioned, Esqueco CM, is the WILS program, and we're trying to ramp up some work with law firms to come in and work with our elders, and hopefully we can get the program kicked off with our elders first, and then a bit more wide rollout after that. And that's it for the presentations. Squiggle say I'm happy to answer any questions.
Wonderful, Mark. Thank you so much for that presentation. It's always a fulfilling presentation to receive. I'm very proud of the work that we've done to take care of our elders, and I share that story with other nations as we talk about what it means and the different ways you can take care of your elders. So I'm really proud that our nation has really decided to take on that good work. And thank you to you and your staff again for making all of that happen through all our e-bank transfers and so on. It's always a bit of a challenge to get all that money to the people when they need them, when they need it. And we'll now open the floor to the legislators who might have any comments or questions regarding this schedule. Legislators? Legislator Spalaktowit?
Hi, Chair Squeakle. Thank you for the runner. I just have a question. Elders who are eligible for the monthly pension, do they automatically receive it, or do they need to fill out some sort of like application form?
Hechka Spalaktowit, that's a really good question. Mark?
Hechka Squeakle CM. Thank you for the question, Legislator Spalaktowit. I think it would be quite disrespectful of us to make somebody prove their age and to make them ask for the money that TFN's giving. So for all elders, as soon as you turn 55, we automatically generate the payment. Same for 60. And once you've turned 65, we again take care of that automatically. Hechka Squeakle CM.
Thank you, Mark, for your very respectful response. I believe that the membership clerk does take care of notifying finance of that particular work. And so thank you very much. Any other questions or comments regarding this schedule? Legislator Saltanat?
Hechka Squeakle, Feather Runner, and Mark again. So in regards to the cultural benefits, you never mention it, but it's in the budget here. So I guess I have a question maybe for the director or the manager. If there's more than, if we're going to have a gathering and there's more than 2 families, you know, doing the work, can they apply separately for the grants? Okay. Hechka.
Hechka Legislator. Crystal, is that going to be part of your presentation later on, or is it part of this one? Yeah. Can you please earmark that one? The legislature, is that okay if we save that for the presentation when it comes up? Thank you. Are there any questions regarding this schedule? Any more other questions? Legislator Tehuilam?
Hi, Chair Squeakle. Hi, Chair Liam for the feather. Thank you, Mark, for the presentation. Just a comment, I guess I look forward to the FAC meeting and hearing about the explanation of the, I guess, the low interest generated for our legacy trust this year. It's going to be interesting to hear that, and yeah, I look forward to that and passing on what information I can to members after that meeting occurs, what information I'm able to. So thank you for that. Hi, Chair.
Hechka Tehuilam. Mark, would you like to comment?
Hechka Squeakle CM. So we will have a meeting of the directors of the Trust Society, and Legislator Tehuilam, as a member of FAC, is a member of the directors of the Trust Society. But that'll happen in April, and we'll be able to release some info at that point. We will also be able to present to all of legislature as in their role as members of the Trust Society, but that won't be till June. So we'll try and get info out as quickly as we can, Squeakle CM. And if I may, Squeakle CM, while I have the feather, just wanted to point out that we spoke about the wills workshop. April 11th is when the wills workshop is going to be held with the elders. And on April 25th, the lawyer will be coming in to work with the elders following that workshop. So if elders are watching, please add that to your calendar so you can take advantage of the situation. Hajka Squeakle CM.
Hajka, Mark, thank you for noting those dates. I think that that's really important work that needs to be done. And if there's any elders that need assistance in, having somebody with you to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out to your family or to a loved one that can help you, or any member of staff that you feel comfortable with to help you with this really important work. Legislator Terry. Legislator Spiloctowit.
Hajka. I just want to follow up with fellow legislator Sultanat. If you go back to the previous slide, and it's the first bullet that I think she's referring to for the elder cultural benefit. I think that's what she's referring to.
Ah, I see. My apologies. Legislature Sultanat, would you mind reinstating your question, please, and to refresh our memories? And then, Crystal, can you prepare an answer if you have one?
Okay, Hajka to my neighbor, Squeakle, and the Feather Runner. I guess my question is, if there's going to be a memorial and two families are involved, can the two families apply separately for the grant?
Hajka, and I guess the question is that what the Elders Cultural Benefit does? And so if you could just provide some clarity, Crystal, regarding the two, or Mark. Thank you.
Hajka Squeakle CM. Thank you, Liam, for the feather. So the elder cultural benefit that we refer to here is the payment that we make when a member becomes an elder at age 55, and then again at 60, and then the monthly payment for 65 on. It isn't for any specific cultural purpose. It's to recognize the cultural importance of the elders to Tsawwassen community.
Thank you very much, Mark. So Crystal, please earmark the question regarding the policy being applied if two members from the family are asking for some ceremony money as well. So we put a pin in that question, a Sultanat, for when it comes up in the schedule. And thank you for clarifying the difference between the two. Any other questions? I'll take one more question before we move on to voting. All right, thank you. Thank you, Mark, for the presentation of the schedule, and thank you, legislators, for your very thoughtful questions. I would now like to ask Legislator Taylor Baker if she would not mind reading the motion to move Schedule 6 to third meeting, and then I will ask for a mover and a seconder, and then a vote. Taylor?
Hajka Liam, Hajka Squeakle. Motion to move Schedule 6, the Member Benefits Schedule of Bill 001-2024 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 5.12C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24(2) of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget, and whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual under Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings, and whereas the Legislature resolved on February 15, 2024, that each schedule of Bill 001-2024 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during the second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 6, the Member Benefit Schedule, to third reading.
Hi, Chair, Legislature. May I have a mover, please? Legislator Lequolia. May I have a seconder, please? Legislature Mary Ann. All in favor to move this schedule to third reading, raise your hand, please. Hajka, all of the table have raised their hand. Legislator Louise, please vocalize your assent or dissent.
I approve.
Heichka, motion has passed unanimously. Thank you so very much, legislators. We are now ready to do Schedule 8. Legislators, do we want to take a small break before we move, or how are we feeling? All right, let's take a 7-minute break because it's March 7th today, and this is our 7th session. Lucky number 7. 7-minute break, legislators. All right, legislatures, thank you for that short break. We are now moving on to Schedule 8, the Member Education, Training and Culture Schedule of Bill 001, 2024. As stated for the other schedules, are there any legislatures who need to declare a conflict? Legislature Spiloctowit.
I would like to declare a conflict.
Heichka Legislature, I believe that there is a setup in the former cultural room that will allow you to view the live stream and keep an eye on us. We'll be sure to call you back once the vote has done, Legislature Spiloctowit. Thank you. I would now like to invite Lakwia, Crystalline Gurniak, Director of Member Services, to present this schedule. Lakwia?
Heichka Squeakwell and Heichka Liam for the Feather Runner. I'm just gonna, I guess you can hear me. Good evening. So I'm going to be presenting on the Education and Skills Development Department. There's a number of different budgets within this department, so we'll just go through them. The first, oh, I have the little thing here. So this is just a graph of the education skills development and language and culture over the last number of years, and how the budget has increased. So that's just a graph. And these are the actual numbers. So this year, the budget increase is quite high, and that's for a number of reasons. So it's 66% higher than last year, it seems. So the first budget we'll go through is the Education K-12. So this budget is increased by $296,000 in core, mainly due to COLA. I'll just run through the budgets for this year, 2024 and 2025. So the core is $1.5 million, and that's for all the staff that are in the Education and Skills Development budget. This program also covers the teachers, the EAs that we have with the satellite school on Tsawwassen lands, and the EAs that we deploy out into all the schools, and then education assessments. So any of the psych ed assessments, any kind of assessments that TFN student is needing for school, that comes out of this budget. And that's just over $650,000. The second line, or the third line item there is $167,580, and that's for all the education grants. So that's the instructional support services, the child and youth grant, the mandatory school supplies, and then the grad awards. And then at the bottom there, the grad ceremony is $27,500. And then we have a line item for $2,500 for parents' meetings. So we do have, I'll just go through that. So we have our satellite school that's we have for high school students at the youth center. And that's, last year we transitioned all of the kids, the elementary kids, back to their public schools in either Ladner or Tsawwassen. And we do, the high school that we do have here for students that are not able to attend the mainstream school and mainstream programs. So we do have a few students that are at our satellite school here and doing very, very well. We have 3 education assistants, actually 4. We just got one hired last week. So we now have 4 education assistants that we deploy within the Delta schools that TFN children attend. And then we also have 2 teachers. One teacher is for the high school, and then the other teacher is Joanne Keller. She deploys all of the EAs and also does one-on-one support with all of the, she meets with the principals, the teachers, and then brings that back and meets with parents. So she does that. And then this covers the education assessments. We have a number of different partnerships we have a partnership with Able Clinic and the Center for Child Development, and then there's one more partnership that we just recently developed to deliver the education assessments, because we had a long wait list. Sometimes the school wait list, or the school, wait list to do an education assessment could be anywhere from a year to 2 years. So our wait list is about 6 months. And sometimes we can squeak them in a little bit sooner if we can. And then this also covers the monthly student allowance for the students in grade 7 to grade 12. Do you want me to pause after each, or just, okay. The next one is post-secondary education. This one is up $50,000. Last year and every other year for many years, it's always been at $200,000, and we've always have never denied a TFN member post-secondary education. And if we've ever gone over $200,000, we still approved it. And if it was over the line item for Schedule 8, then we would go back to Executive Council requesting a budget adjustment, but we haven't had to do that. But we did increase it this year by $50,000 because we are seeing an increase in applications, and that's roughly what we spent last year. So we've bumped that up. Now we're on to the early childhood education, SMI-Qualalem. This budget has increased by $41,000 due to COLA. So the COLA, or the core, is almost $780,000, and that's mainly for all of the staff to run the daycare. Mind you, the daycare is not fully staffed. We've been having challenges finding infant, toddler, and ECE workers. They've been posted since COVID, and it's been a serious challenge to find them. We have budgeted $9,000 for staff professional development. Staff have to have I think it's 40 hours of staff professional development in order for them to keep their early childhood education license to practice. So we do staff development. We spend a small amount of $2,500. We have like Mike's Critters come in. Sometimes they do yoga, sometimes they do gymnastics. And it's just a little extra money so that they can do these little extra events. Or activities, I mean. And then the next one is $1,500, and that's for our daycare events. We have like a little Christmas concert and different events that we have throughout the year for the daycare. And we're budgeting another $900 for lunch with elders. We're trying to really, I think we did it once, and over Christmas, and I think we're planning on doing more than that. So that's the daycare. The child and youth services. This budget is up by $130,000, and a lot has to do with COLA and staffing. So the core, again, is $747,000, and that's all the staff in that building. We have $36,000 for the healthy habits, so that provides all the meals and the healthy snacks. $35,000 for extracurricular activities. $15,000 for events that we have, like the Halloween party and the Easter party. So just those little events that we have there. $40,000 for the camping and youth leadership program. $20,000 for the day camp throughout the summer and spring break. And then we've kept in the $250,000 in there because we're always developing and creating new programs based around the interests of the children and the youth that attend the programming. So one example is a lot of the kids are really into music and singing and drumming and all sorts of things. So we would be taking, our teacher that does singing lessons in there, guitar lessons and drum lessons. And so that will be coming out of that. On to employment and training. This one has increased by just over $9,000, again, due to COLA. This program is 100% funded through Service Canada, and it funds targeted wage subsidies for businesses. So if a member is interested in a particular industry and they don't really have that experience to go into that industry, we could develop a targeted wage subsidy with a potential employer for 3 months or so, so an individual could actually get that work experience that they are looking for within that industry. So we have that. We have $156,000 for single seat purchase, which is any kind of training that leads to employment. So even young drivers, anything that they need for to gain employment. This program also funds our summer employment program, and then the employment support, which is $15,000, is like anything that has to do with work gear that you need that leads up to employment. So sometimes we have that's those. We have like Mark's Warehouse vouchers that we can give to an individual to go and get work gear, work pants, and any of that sort of thing. That's what this budget is for. I will move on to Parks and Rec. Well, this budget is up drastically for many reasons. Last year it was $215,000, and this year it's just over $1.8 million. So the main reason is under core, we are looking to hire 5 new staff in this budget, and that's really to support the new Elder Center. And then and expand the elders programming. So this is where some of the new programs so the events that Jen had presented in her session, where all those events moved over into this budget. So the members gathering and all of those big events come out of this budget now, and same with the Elder Center. So there's quite a jump in there. So I'll just go through it, and then I can explain it a bit on why it's quite high. So core, again, is the new staff plus the current staff that are working within the department. We are keeping the Delta Parks and Leisure passes. So if families want to go to swimming at the Delta swimming pools, if they want to go ice skating, whatever families are looking for, that's still available. We also have the Parks and Rec program. And the staff will be developing and delivering new programs. I'm sure you've seen a lot of them in the newsletter. Zumba, Seamus is really good at Zumba. And recreation reimbursement policy. So that's a new program that was just approved and implemented in the last number of weeks. And that really is for everybody, all adults, to access. And so it's $600 per Tsawwassen member, adults 16 and up, where you have the ability to do whatever kind of parks or events, extracurricular activities that you want. So if you're a golfer, you can use that for golfing lessons. You can use it for golfing membership. If you want to get into golf, then you can use it towards golf clubs. So it's a really great program, and we're hoping that more people will use this program. And if people are using Club 16, we're going to be, the staff will be reaching out to them, and we'll be transitioning over to this program. So it's a reimbursement. And you have more flexibility as opposed to just going to Club 16. If people want to go to yoga or whatever, this is available. And then we have the elders events and the elders programming, which was $225,000. Previously, that was in the Health and Social Services budget. So we've moved that over to here. And same with member events, and that was in Government Services Department. So that's the members gathering, that's Treaty Day, that's the Community Christmas Dinner, and all of those events that were previously in the Member Services budget is now in here. That is why it's up 1.8 or up 150 or $1,592,000. And that's everything I just went over. And then here's the Language and Culture Department. So this budget is up $1.4 million as well. And mainly that's to do with grants that we've applied for. So I'll just go through the line items again. So core is $790,000. And that's really because we've hired new staff in the Language and Culture Department. So we've hired 4 new staff. I have 3 there, but it's, yeah, so there's 4 new staff in that department. And what we got funding to fund those staff to learn the language. So we have 3 staff right now that are working on their BA with a double minor. And we have a second cohort that are just starting the language program through SFU. So we have 2 cohorts, so 7 staff that are in the program full-time, essentially learning Hunkaminam and delivering it back within the community. And we do have language classes that the staff are doing at the youth center for some of the older kids, and it's some of the older kids are really enjoying it. So I'll just go through it. So the core is $790,000. $275,000 of that is for the is grant funded through the PSPP, and that's through the First Nations Education Steering Committee, and that funds the tuition partnership that we have with Simon Fraser University. So that covers all of the tuition that it costs for our 7 staff to take the language programs. We've budgeted $442,000 for our new cultural hub. So that is also that includes the rent that we have to pay for the commons, which I believe is $82,000 for the year, which is rent, like the hydro and all the operational things for that space. And then anything that we need in there. So we're going to need some new furniture to set up. That's where the language and culture staff will be housed. We'll be moving all of those big the cabinets that we have and to store our artifacts, that will all be moved over there, and we're going to need to fill that space. So really that's essentially what that's for. And then the cultural curriculum development. So this is really exciting. So we applied for a grant for $1.4 million to create and develop a curriculum based around Tsawwassen Coast Salish culture and our cultural calendar. And that's over a number of years. So this year, this current year that we're in now, I think we ended up getting $46,000 or something like that. And then next year it's the $396,000, and then it'll be that same amount for the next 2 years beyond this year. So it's really exciting, and we have hired Peggy Plumstead McLeod as our contractor to help deliver and create that curriculum. And we're hoping to partner with Kwantlen Polytechnic University to help with that as well. So some really exciting things that are happening in the Language and Culture Department. We have the cultural grant, which is $10,000. And again, if we have more members that want to apply, Executive Council's always said, approve those grants. And if we go over the 1.9 million, then we can go back to EC and request more. But we're on the understanding that we approve the cultural grants. And I just wanted to respond to Sultanat's question regarding the memorials. So in the policy, if you're having a memorial, just say for maybe 2 families, the first picture gets $4,000, and then the second picture gets $1,000. So that's how it reads in the policy now. So I hope if you have more questions, we can. Okay. And then for the Longhouse, we've budgeted $11,000, and we haven't typically always spent that, but I know in Sean's budget, in the Member Services Capital, we will be doing some renovations to the Longhouse as well. So there's that. And then we've always kept the $50,000 in here for the repatriation and repository. We work very closely with the Archaeology Department. And we may need some more cabinets when we move over to the Cultural Hub. So we'll be working with the Archaeology Department around all of that. So that's $50,000 for there. And that's it.
Wow, thank you very much, Heitske Lakwia, for that presentation. 7 budgets, that's a lot of information. I hope that legislators have been scribbling down and writing down their questions that they might have for any one of these 7 budgets. I open up the floor now for legislator questions to this schedule. Legislator Palichia.
Heitske Squeakle-Siam, Heitske for the feather. Lots of information and great budget. I just had a question about the education assessments, but you kind of answered the wait list. So hopefully with some of the other clinics and programs that you guys work with, maybe that 6-month wait list could be even shortened. I know a lot of our students depend on those education assessments, and the school 2-year wait is just so unacceptable. Mm-hmm. I just wanted to make a comment for Jen for was it last weekend or a couple weekends ago, they did the REACH event, and I attended. I was with my niece and nephew, and I thought, okay, well, it's REACH, I don't really need, but I did get some great information, and even for my daughter, she's still in you know, she's getting up there, but she can still use those services. And the whole event was so great. And I would like to see more of that, like if there's some sort of joint, like I don't know who, like we can pair up with, but something similar other than Reach, other companies and stuff. But that was really well. Just a quick question about the Longhouse opening and sweep, replace materials and supplies. $11,000, it seems like a lot of money, and I don't see a whole lot of, like, you know, ceremonies and stuff in the Longhouse. I'm just wondering why, and what does TFN have to do to utilize that building more? Heichka.
Heichka Legislator Palichia. Crystal, can you answer the questions that you can, please?
Heichka Squeakquel and Heichka Feather Runner for the Feather. I'll just talk quickly about the education assessments, and that's one of the reasons why we did try and partner with another organization so that we have 3 companies or groups that we can work with to minimize those waits, because we feel that it's even 6 months is a very long time. Lots can happen within 6 months. So if we can continue to find more partnerships like that, then we would. And then the events, we agree, like I had heard that nothing but great things from that event. So we will continue to do more like that because we had lots of families show up for that. And then for the Longhouse and sweep, we really take direction from the Longhouse committee around that. And so, I mean, whenever we have events in there, we go to the committee and they give us direction around all of that. So $11,000, we don't typically use all of the whole $11,000, but if we do need to purchase some new dishes, as we seem to do often, we would use that money to purchase new pots and pans or coffee pots or whatever the Longhouse needs. So we do use some of that, but we don't typically use the whole $11,000 each year.
Heichka Laquia, 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 LLL. Heichka, my apologies to both of you. Legislator Taylor.
Heichka Liam and Heichka for the presentation. I just want to pass along my thank yous for the new recreation reimbursement program to both you and Seamus. My resolution last year was to do some scanning of member programming, and it's just amazing how fast we could see that the Club 16 wasn't being very utilized. So it's just amazing to see this program be in place so quickly. So thank you very much, and I look forward to reaching out to the community about that for them to take advantage of the program. And also just a big thank you to our youth center staff. The high school program I know is very successful, so I just wanted to pass on thank you, because it's been really great that we can still have that in place for our youth. Heichka.
Thank you, Legislator. Legislator Marianne.
Heichka Squeakquel CM and Heichka Feather Runner for the Feather. I have more of a question just because I don't see it expanded on in the presentation. In the part of the budget for contracted services, it's mentioning psych ed evaluations, and it's $5,000 per month. So I'm just wondering if you could expand on what that is, and if it's, yeah, just more clarification on what that is. Heichka CM.
Heichka Legislator Crystal.
Heichka Squeakquel and Heichka Feather Runner for the Feather. The psych ed assessment is the education assessments. I tend to not use psych ed assessments just because families are like, what? So it's really just essentially the education assessments done by a psychologist at either one of those clinics. And it is an in-depth education assessment or a psych ed assessment. And it goes into great detail of family history and all sorts of things. So it's the same thing as an education assessment.
Heichka Laquia, Legislator Sultanat.
Hechka Squeakquel, and the Feather Runner, and Crystal. So just in regards to the $600 that members could apply for, is there a process, an application process for the 600? And can you explain
Great
it?
question.
And I've got some other questions, but I'll do one at a time.
Hajka Legislature Sultanat. Seamus, can you please respond to that query?
Hajka Featherrunner, Hajka Squeakquel, Hajka Chief and Council. So yes, the policy as well as the form are on our website right now. There'll be more information going out tomorrow in the newsletter and on Facebook. So it's all there, and if you need any help, I'll be in the Elders Center to help you. Hajka.
So the form is online as well?
Correct.
Hajka.
Hajka.
Legislature Lucolia.
Hechka Squeakquel and Liam and Equia. I have 3 questions. Let's see. It's kind of unfortunate that we don't have ECE workers that are sticking around. Is there a shortage, or is it just like trouble retaining them out here? The next one is different types of positions. You mentioned there's 4 or 5 new staff for the elders programming. Very excited to see. I'm just curious to see what kind of positions there'll be. And then the last one is about the new cultural curriculum development. How is this applied or used at TFN? Is this like for the Delta School District, or how does that work? And a comment, I'm very pleased to know that Miss Peggy is still involved with TFN children. Impressive.
Hajka Lucolia, was she your preschool teacher? Your brother's. Yeah, she is. She's a gem and a treasure to Tsawwassen for sure. Thank you for your questions, Lucolia. Laquia?
Hajka Squeakquel and Hajka Featherrunner. So for the ECE workers, I think it's all of the above. It's really hard because we apparently seem to be very far away from the outside world. And it's traveling here has been a challenge for some of our ECE workers. I mean, we have someone traveling from Port Coquitlam every day. So that is a challenge. One, we would hope that it would have attracted. We also get funding for an ECE top-up, which is through the BC Aboriginal Childcare Society. And then we also get a provincial ECE wage top-up. So it increases their wage quite a bit, but it's still not attracting those workers. And there's a huge shortage all over the country with ECE workers. So that it is really unfortunate. And then the positions in the new elders program. So we have 2 new elders workers. And Seamus and I are working on those job descriptions to kind of get them ready so that if and when this budget is approved, we can post immediately in April, because we want to make sure that we have all of our staff ready and prepared once the new elder center is built. So we have 2 new elders workers. We have one, a cook that will be helping our current cook. And then we have 1 position that will help us with events, to help like set up events, take down events, help with some of the community events that we need and have. And our events are just getting, we have so many events on a regular basis. We just need more staff to really support that. So that's 4. And the 5th position was, actually, I think it's 4 positions. Oh, recreation. Another one to help support all the recreation programs that we are about to deliver.
Hajka, very much for those responses. It's exciting to know that we have so many events. Did you have one more comment to add? All right, please continue.
Yeah, so I just want to talk a little bit about the curriculum development. So and to answer Lacolia's question. So the curriculum development that the grant that we got was specifically for early learning. So we are hoping to, and we will be doing, but our end goal is to have our daycare Hunkaminam, like an immersion Hunkaminam program. So everybody will be speaking Hunkaminam even the children will be learning Hunkaminam every day, all day long. And then what we're hoping out of some of our language and culture staff, that once they get their BA, they can move on either to their master's, specializing in linguistics and Indigenous languages. But the other route that we're talking about that some of them can go to is to get their teaching degree. So they become teachers, so they'll be a language teacher certified that they could teach at the schools. And we have a couple of the staff that are interested in doing that. So it's really, really exciting. And it will take a number of years to get there, but we're, on our way.
Wonderful, Laquia. Legislator Sultanat.
Hajka for the feather, and just did that one already. So in regards to the cultural hub, you say the rent is $82,000 a year. When do you guys start paying the rent? And when do you expect us to be in there? So I think that's going to be a pretty good celebration, once it's organized. And I'm so glad that there's a lot of programs, and a lot of good cooks. But I guess that was my question there. In regards to the longhouse equipment, one thing that, I find is for the coffee makers, we always seem to lose the guts. And so, and, and it's, we got tops, we got stuff in the middle, but, so I don't know, is there a possibility of getting them all checked out to make sure they're all in working order? Because it's really frustrating if you're making coffee and all of a sudden it breaks down or something, and people like coffee. Okay, so, and this is in regards to the early childhood workers. How can we approach our members to take this and for them to be successful? I know there's a few programs in Vancouver, that they could utilize, but just to encourage them to, take it, so then we have our own staff. Okay, can I ask one more question in regards, or shall I wait? Okay, so this is just in regards to the memorials that we got the thing here, and it says $4,000 for the first picture, $1,000 per additional picture. But I guess my thing is, with two different families doing the work, is it still going to be just $5,000 for the memorial? I think that's what I wanted to know. Okay,
Hajka Sultanat. Thank you very much for all of those inquiries and curiosities. Crystal, are you ready? Laquia, are you ready? All right.
Hajka Squeakle and Hajka Feather Runner. So for the rent, for the cultural hub, it has already started. As soon as we signed the lease and took over that space, we're paying rent. Yeah, so it's in there. So we are hoping to be in there. The grant that we applied for, I think we got $1.2 million for that cultural hub. And I believe we're hoping that it will be done by May. It's pretty quick, but it took a long time to negotiate the lease, so it may be June, towards in the summertime. So that's, it's still exciting. The coffee maker, yeah, there's about 12 of them down there, and half of them have no guts. So we will take a look at that for sure. And then that's how I read it in the policy for the memorials. It is $4,000 for the first picture and each additional picture, but it's not clear on if it's, two different families, but I would assume it would be two different, yeah. Yeah.
So maybe we could take a look at
Yes.
that policy, and maybe you could add that to some work just to review it and make sure that there's clarity surrounding that. And then maybe we can talk to the Longhouse Committee about that, or the Standing Committee on Language and Culture. And maybe just do a little bit of exploring about really what we're trying to support and being clear about that support.
Will do.
All All right, Heichka, Legislator Tequilum.
Heichka Squikewill and Heichka Liam for the feather and Heichka Crystal for your presentation. Lakwia, what was my question here? The mention of the shortage of ECE workers. I would like to try and find a way to try and support that for making it more attractive for maybe members or for just better retention in general. It'd be nice to have, I guess, a look at that and see if there's any way to bump it up to be more competitive in the in that field, create more incentive and attraction for people to want to come and work out in Tsawwassen and fill those positions, because I'd imagine that's what other organizations are doing. There's a lot of new early childhood education centers that are popping up here and there, and I think, yeah, we have to take a look at investing a little more in there to bump up those people's salaries and create that interest for people to go into that field in the first place. Thank you.
Heichka Tequilum, Lakwia, do you have a response for that?
I'll make it very brief. We did a study on not so much a study, but we inquired around all of the early childhood educations in the Lower Mainland, and our wages and benefit packages are quite high compared to some of them, and most daycares do not have a benefits package at all. So when we do get applicants, they're quite excited, and we tend to keep them for the most part. But one thing I did forget to mention is we applied for a grant to do a labor market study, and so we are working on a labor market study. So I believe it was approved, or we just signed off the grant and to send it off. So, but stay tuned. We'll talk a bit more about that once we get it.
Heichka Lakwia, I don't know if we can partner with any of the educational institutes that are training these types of positions, and maybe we can create some kind of internship or practicum. Already thinking about that. Wonderful, wonderful. So a clear message I heard is how can we try to support our team in acquiring some ECE workers. Thank you very much. Are there any other legislators that haven't asked any questions that have any questions for Lakwia? All right, are there any other legislators at all that have any questions that would like to I'll keep the floor open for probably another 3 or 4 minutes before we move on to a vote. So are there any other questions? Legislator Sultanat?
Heichka for the feather. Basically, it's not a question, but it's a comment. You know, like there's a lot of programs happening for the whole community in the recreation and everywhere else. And I think we appreciate, you know, like what the recreation, is it director or manager? You know, like, so, you know, like he's done a lot of things and, you know, like, I know we appreciate it. And lots of stuff happening at the youth center, you know, like, and it's pretty exciting stuff. They had Zumba, but I'm not coordinated, so I'm not too sure if they could have some other type of, or get all the other ladies to come and join us. But, you know, like it's a lot of work, you know, it's good for our community. And I think that's all I wanted to say. I got more, but I'll talk to you separately. Okay, Heichka.
Heichka Sultanat, Legislator Sultanat, it's always good to get that positive feedback. We've heard some positive feedback from the table already in many different areas, and I think it's really good for us to celebrate the successes and the staff to hear that, and for us to remind ourselves that we're on the right track. Legislator Kwiakwia.
Heichka Squeakle CM, Heichka Liam for the feather, and Lakwia. I just also wanted to echo what Sultanat was saying, and in support of Seamus having some assistance. He's been on the ground running since you got here, and I just think it's great. It shows how much we're growing as a nation, in regards to events, and we're celebrating, which is good, right? Like so I just wanted to thank you for that, and our nation. I love how we celebrate everything from Pink Shirt Day to there's just so many things, and there's always reasons to celebrate, and so it brings our nation together. And yep, just wanted to give some positive feedback, and I'm surprised I don't have any questions. So that's a good thing, right? So Hajka.
Hajka Legislature. So speaking of wrapping things up, I think you have one more item to wrap up your presentation before we move to the vote.
It is the video that is about to play.
Heichka, for sharing that. Could I have the lights back on, please? Thank you for sharing that wonderful, wonderful montage of our youth and all of the activities. I think it's become a tradition, Lakwia, that we get to see our youth and the past year's events. I know that it always sparks pride in everybody when they see their child or their grandchild or their niece or their nephew, their little cousin or their relative in these things. So thank you so much for sharing that and showing the fun and the good work that's happening. All right, legislatures, I think we're ready now to move forward to the next part of our agenda here. Thank you for all of your inquisitive questions, your curiosity, your praise for this schedule, and thank you to Lakwia and her staff for the presentation of the work to come. So I would now like to, can I give it to somebody? All right. And now I'd like to move forward and read the motion and have Laquilla read the motion to move Schedule 8 to the third reading, and then ask for a mover and a seconder, and then I'll ask for a raising of hands for in favor or not in favor, and then ask Louise for her verbal vote. Legislator Laquilla.
Heichka Squeakle and Liam. Okay. Motion to move Schedule 8, the Member Education, Training, and Culture Schedule of Bill 001-2024 to third reading. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has the authority under Section 512C of the Constitution Act to enact Tsawwassen laws, and whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature under Section 24.2 of the Financial Administration Act must approve the annual budget. And whereas under the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual, Section 25, each bill must receive 3 separate readings. And whereas the Legislature resolved on February 15th, 2024, that each schedule of Bill 001-2024 be reviewed, debated, and voted on separately during second reading. Therefore, be it moved that the Tsawwassen Legislature move Schedule 8, the Member Education, Training, and Culture Schedule, to third reading.
Heichka, Legislator Laquilla. Do I have a mover? Legislator Marianne. Do I have a seconder? Legislator Pelichia. All in favor? Please raise your hand high. All members of the table have voted in favor. Legislator Halkamatia.
I'm in favor.
Heichka. Thank you, Legislature. This schedule has been approved and carried and is now moved into this third reading. Thank you so very much for that great work. That was a big schedule. I think I'm glad in hindsight we had a break before we did that one. I think you would have all been looking at me with different eyeballs if I had continued on. So this brings us to the additional item on our agenda, and it is actually, I believe, the last item on our agenda. Is that right, Connor? It is the motion to amend the legislature rules and procedures. This item, we will consider a motion to amend the legislature rules and procedure manual. I will ask that Chief Swamasat to read the motion, and then the chief will be the mover for the motion, and then I will call for a seconder. And then I will ask our interim CAO, Quintiltonot, Chief Kim Baird, to speak for the reasons why this motion is being tabled tonight. Chief Squamisat.
Good evening, everyone. As you may recall, we experienced an issue last week where we were unable to proceed with our legislature assembly meeting due to the requirement that a majority of legislatures be physically present in the room in order to have a quorum for the meeting. When the rules and procedures were initially drafted, remote participation was via phone, and a legislature's ability to participate in the meeting this way was limited. Over the years since then, technology has evolved and legislatures are now able to be fully present in the meeting when joining online. In order to avoid any further meeting cancellations like we experienced last Thursday, Executive Council is putting forward this motion to amend the legislature rules and procedures to allow legislatures who are joining the meeting online to count towards the quorum, which will ensure that we can continue the important work at this table in a timely manner. I will now read the motion. Motion to amend the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has authority under Section 8.1 of the Government Organizational Act to establish rules and procedures governing the conduct of its business and affairs. Whereas the Tsawwassen Legislature has determined that certain amendments to the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual are required to reflect advancement in remote meeting participation that has occurred since the Legislature Rules and Procedures was introduced. Whereas in-person attendance of meetings of the legislature is encouraged, but remote participation is recognized as sometimes necessary to ensure health, safety, and well-being of legislatures, members, staff, and guests. And whereas delays in proceedings of the legislature sessions should be avoided to ensure effective operation of the Tsawwassen government. Therefore, it be moved that the Legislature Rules and Procedures Manual is amended as follows. 1. Subsection 6.4 is deleted and replaced with the following. If one or more legislatures are attending electronically under Section 19, that legislature or those legislatures, as the case may be, will be counted when determining whether there is a quorum. 2. Subsection 19.3 is deleted.
Hajka, Legislature and Chief Swamasat, for reading that motion. That was the mover. Do I have a seconder? Legislator Taylor. Thank you very much. We are now going to invite Interim CEO Contultnot Kim Baird to share a report on this. I would like to extend my apologies to Legislator Spalaktwit for not calling you in immediately after we finished our schedule. But did you catch the gist of what was going on? We're amending the legislative procedures. We just put a motion on the table. Kim is going to describe what this is all about, and now that the motion's on the table, we'll have some questions, and then we'll vote on it.
I don't have a lot to add. It's pretty straightforward, I think, but I would say that there has been discussion about concern that it would be disincentive for people to come in person. So we think that there are opportunities for further revisions to tighten that stuff up later. But the recommendation is to address the problem we had last week and keeping it simple, a simple amendment, and then work on other things later is the idea. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Mary is watching, our legal counsel, so she's a message away. If we can't answer your questions, she's watching us as we speak.
Excellent. Thank you so much for that. Legislators, do you have any questions? Legislator Kuyakuya?
Hajka Squeakle CM, thank you. Hajka Liam for the feather. And thank you for putting the motion on the table, Chief. I'm just wondering, how do I word this? Without seeing the rules and procedures in front of me, I'm wondering, what is the reason? And okay, maybe this is just a comment, but no, the question is, what is the reason? Can a legislator just call in at any time, or do they need to have a reason? I just worry, and I'm glad that you said that it's something that will be worked on, because my only worry would be that we would have a whole bunch, go back to that. It's such an honor to sit here at this table, and it's good that people are able to call in when they're sick for the safety and protection of everybody. So I was just wondering about that, and if you know the answer. If not, then I'm glad that it's something that will be looked at, but this is a good interim. So Hajka.
Hajka Legislature, Quintiltonot, do you have anything to add to that?
No, it is a gap that we could see, and a gap that we think needs filling, especially if we make an amendment like this. And in the interim, we assume the squeakle will convey the importance of people being here in person unless they have good reason not to be, and until that gap is full. Knowing our squeakle, I don't think she's shy of that task.
This is correct. Thank you so much. I think that that certainly is some discussions about how we want to hold each other accountable for the integrity and the honor and the respect of this table, and that we get the privilege of being remote under circumstances of when we are sick or when we have obligations that take us out of town for business of the nation or for employment that cannot be helped, that this is a privilege that we don't want to abuse, so that because, you know, in the event that we don't have a quorum because we all have to be here in person, we risk the government grinding to a halt if we don't approve things in the timely fashion that we're expected to. I believe that we'll probably have a workshop, and this is a small security measure to make sure that we can get to the end of this session. Due to this has been a really interesting session with all kinds of twists and turns that have paused our session. Unlikely events like a power outage, a quorum, you know, people leaving town for emergencies, and so we're just putting in a measure that can help us get through this session. So some really good thoughts, Legislature Kwiakwia. Quintiltonot.
I just want to say that Executive Councillor Halkamatia also mentioned that our legislation states laws have to be made on Tsawwassen land, so we can't deviate too far from that as well. So we'll have to keep all that in mind with how the legislation, policies and procedures fit together as we examine this. But we certainly don't want the same thing to happen like happened last week. So this is a quick fix.
Correct, a quick fix. That's a good. Any other comments or questions? We have Legislature Lequolia.
Thanks for the feather. It's just a comment. I echo those sentiments as well. And yeah, I apologize for not being able to be here last week. I was too sick to even attend online. And I was grateful that this past Tuesday I was able to attend online. And I hope that in the event, you know, this flu is kind of running through everybody and it's pretty intense. So anyways, I am in support of this. And after today, do you think we should have like a backup feather runner as well?
Hajka, I did have a backup feather water. It was my daughter Jessica. So well, we had a plan. We had a plan B in order. But yeah, these things do happen, and I think we're just all a bit tired, and things have. We're not on top of things the way that we might be after such a long session. Legislature Sultanat.
Hajka for the feather, and you know, like this is something that we have to do. So I'm wondering what the next process is. We got Mary listening to us. Are we going to have a workshop with us, or are you guys just going to do all the details and then come back to us before the fall session? Or, you know, like I just want to know the time frame. Okay, Hajka.
Hajka Legislature Quintiltonot.
We are thinking of a workshop is most likely. I was going to call it a like shop, but but yeah, we're thinking a workshop to go through this. Staff will need some time to look at all the different pieces to this, though, is all. So, but yeah.
Hajka Quintiltonot, and I think that it was obvious that these procedures haven't been reviewed for some time, so I think that there's some work to piggyback on that will allow for a workshop. Legislature Spalaktowit.
Hi, Squeakquel. Thank you for the runner. I too would like to apologize, even though I wasn't absent last week, but I was absent. I think it might have been the first session. But I do love my culture, and I was supporting a member in the Longhouse, and it was really needed. But I do apologize for missing a meeting. And I would like to make a suggestion for Feather Runner that I know our last legislator meeting that we had one of our language and culture staff here. If maybe we can bring that back to have, maybe they can alternate to sit here in case of something like tonight happened.
Hitchka, thank you so much, Legislator Spilaktuit. And this is the type of stuff that we can help staff when we think of ideas of to develop some of these changes. I think that when we talk about our culture, you know, we value that and it's important work. I think the key message for me is a central point of contact, a communication to ensure that somebody is, oh, I'm aware of this, this, and this. We have a quorum issue. And just making sure that that communication is happening and people know who that central point of contact is and that they can make that. And right now, sometimes we have emails, sometimes we have texts, sometimes emails go to junk mail, sometimes, you know, somebody was told and then they're sick, they weren't there, and or there was, you know, notice was given in advance and people forgot, and all kinds of interesting and valid reasons. I think it's just about coordinating that communication so that we can identify an issue in advance. So, and address it and adapt in ways. And we're a very adaptable community. So right now we're doing really well by keeping on track. We're making this small little stopgap to carry us to the end of this session. Plans to have a workshop to you know, solidify how we can best move forward and what other tools and tricks and things we can put in play to support our legislative work. Are there any other members that have any questions or comments with respect to this motion? All right, I think then I will call for a vote. Thank you, Quintiltonot. Show of hands, all in favor, please. Thank you. The whole table has voted in favor. Legislator Halkamatia.
I'm in favor and definitely in favor because I'm homesick today.
Heichka Halkamatia. This motion has been passed unanimously. Heichka legislators for your work. Whew. Now that this ends all of our hard work and concludes the agenda for our 7th legislative session on March 7th. Thank you for everything that has been contributed. Thanking Heichka to Elder Costania for our opening prayer, our songbird and our drummer, Connie Adams, for singing the table blessing, for our relative and legislature Spilaktuit for drumming us in, and for Liam for being our feather runner. We got a little bit of a workout in the last schedule because it was a long schedule and lots of questions. Thank you so much. For Yum's Catering for our delicious meals, for the elders that are present and online. Thank you to our advisory council members that are here in person and may or may not be watching online, to our members that are here and that are online, our staff that are here and are also online, and guests that might be attending online as well. Thank you so much for your participation, your support, and your presence. We really appreciate that. It makes a difference to our work. We will now proceed with our ceremonial procession as we are drummed out and remove our feathers from the mantle. Heichka, and thank you for the privilege of being your Squeakquel.